Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Davidson. I'm with Davidson Direct, and you are attending Webinars 2.0, Tips on How to Sell More webinars. Had to say that for the recording. So we have two speakers today, and also in case you got lost. Two speakers for today. We have Blake Lyman. He's the Professional Program Director, and he does webinars and training for BVR. He does about 60 webinars a year, and BVR is primarily focused on private business appraisal. The next speaker is going to be Jim Sinkinson. He's the publisher at Infocom Group, and they do online newsletters, media directories, and more for primarily the PR industry, so I don't want to waste any time. And we're going to get started with Blake first, then Jim, and then we'll leave some time at the end for questions. But if you have questions in the meantime, please feel free to raise your hand, and we just need to repeat the question for the recording. And thanks for attending.
Thank you, Leslie. My name is Blake Lyman. I'm the Professional Program Manager at BVR, and I should probably preface any remarks today by letting you know that I just finished hosting a 4-hour workshop from my hotel room about 30 minutes ago. So, webinar. So I'm a little frazzled. But 4-hour webinar on fractional interest valuation, and I cannot tell you anything about fractional interest valuation at all. So it was a good 4-hour event. What I'm going to talk to you today about is a subscription model that we have for webinars at BVR that's been very successful over the past few years. What I'd like to do is run through basically a rough overview of our training programs, our calendar, how we set things up, and then kind of run through the history of how we got to our subscription model, do that very quickly, and then kind of get to the management of that model. The description for today's presentation was on how to sell more webinars, and so most of what I'm going to talk to you about in this initial part here is how to restructure the webinar program such that you get more opportunities to sell more effectively with fewer spots. So just starting off right off the bat here, as Leslie said, we run about 60 events per year. Most of those are 100 to 120-minute panel or solo discussions. We run on a 50-minute accreditation hour for our CPE credits that we provide for our attendees. Most of them are accountants or private business appraisers that use the same accreditation for their continuing education. So that's where our usual 100-minute duration comes in. It's about a 90-minute presentation, give or take, with some announcements on either side. We try to do about 2 of those a month, and then we've also found some creative ways to repackage those as we go through the year. So, for instance, we may do 4 weekly programs on a subject in a month. We did one, for instance, in September on valuation for divorce, which is a very common topic for business appraisers. And we plan to do one in January on report writing and testimony. So we're piecing those together as we go through. We also have a new series that we're kind of running through, trying to get it to a quarterly basis. Right now it's a biannual event that's a BD Law brief, and that's effectively hosting one of our editors who runs the BD Law library that we have talk about the cases that she has seen and read about that are of importance within whatever time frame it is from the past event. And then last thing we have listed here is our 4-hour workshops, and that's what I've just finished hosting. That's a 4-hour event. We usually take about a 10-minute break in the middle, and that's effectively just a really long webinar. We do about 1 of those a quarter, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. The structure of these is basically the same as any other webinar. We just try to make it a little deeper, get into some more content, get some new examples in there. So this is where we are today. This is the allocation of BVR's training revenue since our first programs in 2003 until today. Is this a pointer? I don't think it is. Anyway, what you'll see as you go through here is that the large red line that constitutes a majority of our sales drops off dramatically, especially in 2010 through this year. And I should say that the 2013 line is through, I think, September, so first 3 quarters of the year. What you'll see as we go from 2010 forward is this kind of mix of colors that you'll see at the top. Gradually, it both grows in the number of offerings that we have, and it also takes up more and more of our allocation of revenue. Those from the blue line up are subscription products. Those are only subscription products. There's a couple of those that I'll get into and how we structure those. But as you can see, just from this chart, they're quickly taking over our programs here. And of course, this coincides with a great amount of growth in revenue over those years. We'll also get into a little bit of kind of the struggles that we're facing today, and that's particularly prevalent on the 2013 line, where you'll see at the top there's a big mess of numbers and colors. So there's some complexity we're trying to work through as we get through all of our offerings. So as I said, a very quick summary of how we got here with our training programs and where we are today. We initially started offering a 10-pack of webinars where attendees would buy those in bulk. They would buy 10 up front and either allocate those for one person over 10 programs or 10 people to one program, however they chose. That turned out to be almost impossible to administer. We had people buying these 10 packs, 2 and 3 at a time, not using them all, and then buying them again. And then at the end of the year, they'd say, oh, wait, we have 17 more. Let's use them all. So we had a hard time keeping track of these, just like our customers did. And it was pretty clear to us over a short period of time that this just wasn't tenable. What we did after that was move to what we now have, which is our Passport program. Our initial product was $8.99. It was unlimited access to an average of 2 programs a month, as I mentioned earlier. That was not specific to any topic or title, and just gave people access to the program as we went through. The setup for this with most of our customers, they might have 2 or 3 people listening into a line, so we're trying to set it up so that we could have one connection with a maximum of, I think, 2 or 3 to 5 people, and then a tiered pricing structure from there. That also proved to be basically impossible to administer or police in any reasonable way. But what we've done with that, and the second generation is pretty close to where we are today, is we then added on a symposium, which is a year-long series. I think the first one we did was on healthcare valuation, where we gave one program a month specific to that topic. So for the healthcare program, you got 12 webinars within that. And the difference between the Passport and the symposium, not just for content, but also for structure, one of our sales executives described it very well to our customers, saying, the Passport was kind of the all-you-can-eat option, whereas the symposium was the catered 12-course meal. So with each product, we expected, sorry, I'm going to move the mic before I keep hitting it. We would expect with the Passport that people may not attend every webinar. Of course, we'd have some people that did, whereas with the symposium, we limited their options but made it more directed to them and expected that they would attend each of those programs. So as I said, it's much easier than the 10-pack model, but it also had some confusion involved with it, as this con bullet here at the bottom points out, that the structure for you pay X amount of dollars for 5 users, and then if you want 3 more, you pay some more. Just turned out to be impossible to get there. So what we did was a quick revision on that, I think after about a year, and changed the pricing structure, so we based it on users rather than connections. We also added more symposiums as we went through, and we introduced a third option, which is called the Passport Pro. That's unlimited access to everything we have. It is obviously the highest, the point of our sales pyramid. It's done surprisingly well. I think most people are interested in climbing that ladder, so to speak, to get to that point. And we've kind of spun a couple things around that to try and make it even more attractive. So if you are a current Passport Pro subscriber, you'll get all of our webinars. You'll get our healthcare symposium, which is still ongoing. You will get a new symposium we're about to begin on fair value measurement, and every one of our workshops that we run every quarter. So that was the event today that I just hosted, and we do 4 of those a year. 1 per quarter is our target. Sometimes the allocation through the year, the calendar, that gets mixed up a little bit, but we try and make sure that we offer those 4 programs specifically for our Passport Pro subscribers as a benefit. There is one other kind of off-the-menu item as well that we've given our sales staff the option to provide for our customers, and that's the custom portal for our training programs. We really have only done this for, I would say, maybe a dozen customers. It's kind of an enterprise option access where they have a specific web page that they'll go to log into, view all of our upcoming programs, click a link, and they can have the dial-in instructions automatically. So that's where we really try to get everybody there if we can, but not everybody wants to go there. So for today's presentation, I'm going to focus mostly on the Passport Pro and below.
Blake?
Yes?
Are in any of those choices, do you provide online access to the recordings?
Yes, we do. Actually, that's a very good point. So
Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, in any of our subscription options, do we provide access to the recordings or any archived versions of the events? The initial version of our Passport, we had included recordings on CD sent out to every subscriber for every program. That burned up a lot of ink, printed a lot of CDs, cost us a lot in shipping. So what we did is developed an online database for people to view those recordings. So we do have a desktop learning center, which is a name we use for it. Probably not uncommon among SIPA members to have that product as well. And every subscription model comes with some version of that. So the healthcare subscribers get the healthcare desktop learning center, which is just the healthcare programming. The Passport Pro subscribers get the kind of everything desktop learning center. So you do get access to that, and that's an attractive offer for our customers, because if they miss a program, they really want to hear it, they can still get the archives later on. So, good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, we also originally, when we did our passports, offered what we call on-demand and live access. And one of the things that and they could download the actual events. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we found was, particularly people who subscribed only to the on-demand version of it, they would download, in our case, 60 or so events, or 30 or 40, and we would come to renewal, and they would say, oh, we haven't even looked at 5 of these things or 7 of these things. We're not going to renew. We still got 40 more we have to look at. Mm-hmm. Have you run into that at all?
We have not. That's a good question. I think we found that the half-life with any of our recordings is pretty short. The accreditation that we offer is a big driver of our attendance, and because of our accreditation rules, we can offer those credits for archived events, but it turns out to be much more challenging and time-consuming than what otherwise would be the case.
Yeah, Jim, we had the same issue with regard to downloads. We programmed it in now, so any one holder of a passport can only make 2 downloads per month. Now, they can get more if they request, but they can only by themselves get 2.
Our solution, I'm jumping in here because I didn't cover this in my presentation, but the solution that we came up with is that the on-demands are only available for 3 months, and they're not downloadable. So you can access it day and night, but we only go 3 months back.
We actually have the opposite tactic, which is to delay the addition of the materials to the desktop learning center. So we try to provide more incentive to attend a live event. There's a number of mediums there where you can get the materials. You can download a transcript, the presentation materials, an MP3, and a video MP4 of the recording. Only the video you cannot download. So you can download everything else as it comes available, but you can't download the video. And we haven't heard any complaints about that yet, but our customers are later career accountants, so they just may not even know that they can't do that. Yes?
So what is the Passport Plus?
Passport, so the current Passport starts at, I'm going to rely on our marketing director, Lisa McIntyre here, it's $6.99 for the Passport, and the Passport Pro is $17.99. And that's for a single user, single connection, and it'll grow from there, obviously. So we do have a number of people who will choose the Passport Pro and just for themselves, but it tends to be something that we see a firm buying for anywhere from 5 to 15 people. Yeah. Do you have another question?
No, I'm just going to make a point, and I want to dominate the conversation. The issue with the downloads for us became a user utility issue and the portability of programs. What do I want the downloads for, so they can use it on a plane, or they can use it when they're away from their computers or the internet. And we're actually finding a big interest in the MP3s better.
Yeah, and we're seeing that as well. Some people say they work out to our webinars, which seems strange to me.
Most new cars now are coming with the USB input into the sound system, so it really makes great use of downtime for people who don't feel like they have time to invest in learning opportunities.
Right. So, I'm sorry.
Just one question from me. How do you protect your data from other people accessing it, like somebody who has the Passport Pro but then passes their login information along to everybody else in the company?
Another great question. We do monitor it pretty closely. That actually plays into our core products, which are database comparable transaction databases, and we will have a system in place for monitoring those based on IP address logins and user IDs and things like that. So we've kind of piggybacked on that. The technical underpinnings of that I'm frankly not too familiar with, but it was already there, so we took advantage of it. Yes?
What do you find? Is piracy frequent or
No.
just relatively uncommon?
Relatively uncommon. Most people are interested in live events. People who do use the archives most frequently, they tend to do it at the end of the year, around tax season, tax deadlines. If they've missed a program that they really want to see, we'll see a lot of use just after that. So it all depends on the program, what might be in the news, what people might want to hear. But as usage goes, so goes violations of our single connection policy, as you would imagine. So moving on, this is just a quick chart of what's available in our webinar series, what we have available to our subscribers. I won't get too far into this, but you'll see as you go through, it has all the products we've mentioned and a few notes on some other items as we go through. The last one here, actually I should point your attention to the last two, the monthly fulfillment emails, something we put in place a few years ago that's turned out to be pretty successful. We have a lot of people who will just go through and blanket put our events on their calendars and not really pay attention if anything gets changed. So we send out a monthly email to our subscribers reminding them of what's coming up, when they should expect their access instruction emails, what the topics will be, who the presenters will be. That's turned out to be very effective in kind of managing, I would say, their expectations. That sounds kind of negative, I know, but just kind of keeping them on the right track and aware of what's happening. The next one is custom web access, and that's actually in development for all of our users. We have a new addition to our website in place where if you're a subscriber, you can log into our website and access those materials on demand. So if you're a subscriber to any one of our programs, you can log in and to our site. It'll either tell you that the program upcoming is in your subscription, you can access those materials, or it'll tell you that that program is not included in your subscription or past your subscription renewal date. So we're working on providing more benefits to subscribers beyond just the programming into the technology of our site. And as I said, that's in development, so we expect that to launch sometime soon, early 2014, I would project. But yeah.
One more question. Do you, I'm not sure whether this works in with your monthly fulfillment emails, but do you register all of your Passport and Symposium and Passport Pro subscribers automatically to every event to which they are entitled?
That's an excellent question, yes. So when we run any event, we'll send out our access instructions twice. So for instance, today's event, we sent the instructions on Tuesday afternoon and then again yesterday afternoon. For any event, when I run those lists, gosh, I'm sorry, this microphone's getting in the way. When we run those lists, I'll pull our purchasers for just that program, people who bought them a la carte, as we say, and then I'll also pull the subscription lists. So for instance, if it was a normal webinar, I would pull people who signed up for that webinar, the Passport subscribers for that webinar, and then the Passport Pro. And then there may be some other lists involved with partnerships and some other things, but generally we just pull that list from our sales database and just register them automatically. Yeah. So they receive those emails directly. So as I mentioned, that initial chart I showed has some complexity to it that we're trying to work through and provide more clarity for our attendees. These are things that I think we'll always be wrestling with. We'll always be trying to iron out, and just thought I'd include these here. I'm sure some of you are probably looking at the same things. We're always looking for the clear pricing structure. We are always looking for technical developments to make the process easier for our attendees. As I've found out again and again recently, they will not take the time to read anything we put in front of them. So We're working on making that easier for them. We're also working on clear definitions of what is and is not included in your subscription. So we will frequently get people who subscribe to the Passport and mistakenly think that a healthcare program is included with it, or today's workshop. So we are trying to make that clearer, and hopefully some of the developments we have in process will do that, but I'm sure that'll be an ongoing battle, and we'll try and provide that clarity in a number of ways. So this is I called it the pyramid of training sales. It's pretty straightforward that at the base we're going to get most of our sales and ironically the least amount of money. But as we go up, we will try and push our customers into higher tiers of access and of commitment. The Symposium and Passport realistically could be on the same level. They're the same price. They cover roughly the same territory, just with specific topics. And all the way up at the top, we have our custom portal and our Passport Pro. So no surprises here. This is the same pyramid, but inverted. And this is, I think, a pretty adequate visualization of how we now manage our programs. So down at the bottom, we have our individual events. And before we had our subscriptions set up, we were basically recreating the entire apparatus from scratch every time we did an event. So when I came to BVR about 5 years ago, we were doing an event every 2 weeks. And every time we did that event, we would wrap it up and turn around and try and sell the next event from scratch. That required a lot of resources in our marketing. It required a really close watch of the risks we were assuming with each program. Was it the right topic? Was it the right time of year for that topic? Was it the right speaker? And as we've put in the Passport, the Symposiums, the Passport Pro, all of these things, it's kind of smoothed everything out, hedged our risk, and given us an opportunity to, instead of focus on each event individually, focus on the entire series as a whole. So this has given us the opportunity to increase our programming quite a bit. We've gone from about 2 webinars a month. I think we had about 20, put us at 25 or so when I first started, to the 60 plus that we're now doing, which we expect will grow in 2014 and beyond. And that's simply because we're not trying to build up our audience every time we do an event. We have at this point about 500 people already built in for our audience that we can just send for our Passport list and just move on and try and sell to the additional maybe 30 to 50 people that we might get for that specific event and move on. The other interesting thing is that it's also given us an opportunity to take some risks on topics that we normally wouldn't cover. And these actually have turned out to be kind of interesting. We did an event in October on valuing marijuana dispensaries. We did an event about a year ago on valuing wineries and breweries. So we've gone from the kind of discounts for lack of marketability that people really like in our business and valuing dental practices for the purposes of divorce, which could get into how much I know about dentists getting divorced, but that's a whole other topic. And we've gone in some really fun ways that I cannot imagine we ever would have done without this Passport program. So the revenue is there. It's great. We have new efficiency with how we can market the events. That's also fantastic. But from a personal level, it's really fun also to see that we can take some of these shots with programs that we necessarily wouldn't have touched otherwise. So it's something to keep in mind as you move forward, and hopefully this, as I said, is a pretty good representation of where we are. Yes?
What's the marketing mix for this?
The higher price product, primarily email, but a lot of it is driven by direct sales calls from our... Correct, yeah. And for the record, I guess I should repeat the question, which is what marketing mix we use for these programs. In addition to what Lisa was saying about introducing direct mail, and obviously we have email and free e-zine mentions for all of our products. Any webinar mention that goes out, if we're marketing just that event, it will also include a mention of the subscription product that's included with. So if it's a crossover event, which we've also done, we've kind of had Symposium crossover events where we did one on, I think it was lost profits in medical practices, which combined our healthcare and our lost profit symposiums into one program. And that included mention that they would both go into those both of those buckets, if you will, those subscriptions. We're also doing quarterly print materials for conferences that we go to. We'll also mail them out to select people. And we do press releases primarily for our larger events, the 4-part series, our workshops, and the symposiums that come out. We're always monitoring that, trying to see where it goes. We do mentions on LinkedIn quite a bit. That's very popular with our audience. So we try and find any place we can put these things. And it's been surprising where they've turned up sometimes, but those tend to work pretty well.
Are you sorry, in the shopping cart, is it always, like on every landing page when you're selling an individual webinar, is there an option to select the passport, or is it just mentioned within the customer?
We actually don't sell it through our store because of the complexity of the setup with the number of connections and the number of people involved. We like that to go through our account executives so that they can talk to the customer, explain to them exactly what they're getting, set it up so that they understand the connections they're getting, and really customize it for their usage. Yeah.
Blake, sorry, we need to make sure that Jim
Oh, sure.
has some time, so
Oh,
we
no,
could
go
save
ahead.
those questions.
Yeah, well, we'll continue on with the questions later, and I'll turn it over to Jim. So,
Okay.
Oh, really?
really? I already talked about all this.
It is 3 o'clock, so we have about 20 minutes.
Oh,
Did you
Okay.
mention your pricing on your events, the individual webinars?
no, I don't believe we did. So the individual webinars we offer are $179. The recording of those are the same price. You can buy the two together for, I think, $269. And then the subscriptions, again, start at $699 for individual users and then go up to $1799 for the Passport Pro. And Jim, I'm going to fast forward to your deck. Leslie, do you know where that begins?
I don't.
Right after yours?
Right after mine.
Yeah,
there we
it
go.
should be right after.
I'll turn it over to Jim. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's
but
fine.
I knew we would be short of time. We
Been
can
in
talk
my
about
room
this for hours. Yeah.
Well, I found Blake and I and Leslie worked together on putting this presentation together. And I want to tell you that I gained a tremendous amount from Blake's presentation. I mean, this is really a very creative and resourceful way to repurpose webinar information. And I'm going to go right back and get to work on it. The kinds of things, I'm going to tell you how we set our webinars up, and it may provide a model for you. And then got we also do a passport, which has been instrumental in increasing our business, and a couple of marketing methods that have been pretty successful for us. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So this is our background. We do about 65 90-minute webinars annually. They're now priced at $349. They were at $299 for 5 or 6 years, and we're, I guess you could say, experimenting at raising that price. One of the things that we did was to, as BVR has done, is just abjectly increase the number of webinars that we do. We found that, 3 or 4 years ago, we were doing 40 events per year. Now we're doing 65 90-minute events. And, the market has borne that load. And I wouldn't say that our revenue has increased by 1/3 by increasing the number of events, but it increased perhaps by 20% or something like that. Certainly worthwhile. And as you know, the risk of doing webinars is pretty low. So we also, for most of our events, do not pay our presenters, so that reduces the risk even more. Our model is mostly 4-person panels plus a moderator. These are not curricularly based. These are the kind of presentations that you see right here. A group of people who are allegedly knowledgeable about whatever it is the topic they're talking about, and they just talk with a moderator driving the conversation, asking them questions, which is a pretty easy format to do. You don't have to depend on an expert coming in and doing a good job of holding down an hour and a half. We drive it, we create the PowerPoints, we do the pre-calls with the presenters so that they know these are the topics we're going to cover. We track with our marketing materials very closely. If we promise that 20 things are going to be addressed, our moderator will make sure that those 20 things are not only addressed but mentioned in the PowerPoints. Because we've been doing this for a long time, and we know that people come back and say, you didn't cover what you said you were going to do in the marketing. And usually when they say that, they're correct. So it's not allowed to not cover the topics that we have promised we would cover. And they still whine about, it wasn't high enough level for me. And I'm sure anybody who does webinars, you get that. And there's not much you can do about that except to say, tell me if there was anything in the marketing materials that we promised you that we didn't deliver. That's the first thing we ask. Help us. They can't do it because we always do. And the other thing we ask them is, how many questions did you ask about the topic that you wanted to hear about? And they go, I didn't. But nonetheless, if they're dissatisfied, they're dissatisfied with it. So we do some solo presenters if the person is really an expert and we know them well, we know them to be a good presenter. We also do 12 four-hour webinars annually. If you come in early, it's $4.95. If you come in later, there's a $5.95 break and a $6.95 break. These are mostly three-person panel segments with three segments. So that's 9 presenters, a unit of maybe an hour and 15 minutes, 3 plus a moderator, hour and 15 minutes, 3 plus the same moderator, hour and 15 minutes, 3 plus the same moderator. And then we have some solo presenters who are capable of holding down a disciplined 4-hour presentation that is more curriculum-based. Just a history to parallel Blake's presentation. We also started out with bundles. We did 3 webinars for the price of 2, 5 for the price of 3, and 10 for the price of 7, something like that. We also found that it was a lot of sales effort for minimal return. That format did not really work well for us. We were inspired by Maquota, which was one of the first organizations that I was aware of that offered a all-you-can-eat approach. And their approach, I don't know if they still do it, but it was even kind of a loss leader because the webinar was $299 or $279, and the passport was like $379 for 12 or 15 events for the entire year. It was really, really a no-brainer. We wanted to make ours a no-brainer, but not that much of one. So our pricing right now is $16.95 for either on-demand or live for 60, we say 60 events, it's usually about 65, and then $19.95 both on-demand and live. I got the impression from your presentation, Blake, that you guys do the same thing. If somebody buys, we don't make phone calls to sell single events at $349, but anybody who comes in as a singleton will get a phone call from our sales department, and we talk to them about professional development. Jody?
Are all those brand new events, or do you do any repeats throughout the year?
These are all brand new. The question was whether they're all brand new events or whether we repeat. They're all brand new events, but some topics are repeated, but it wouldn't be the same group of people. It wouldn't be the exact same name, but they evolve slightly, and I would say that there's probably no topic, a skills topic that we would do more than twice a year. We'll do, so our audience is public relations people. One mode of our webinars is Meet the Editors, where we'll have a panel of 4, let's say, fashion editors, or these days, blogger panels are really big. So we'll do Mommy Bloggers is huge. So we'll do Mommy Bloggers maybe 4 times a year, but every time it's different bloggers. So it's the concept, and the title is the same, but it's different personnel because each blogger is different. Any other questions? Yeah, Philip.
So how many times
So how many times do we market each individual webinar? I think I've got a slide on it, but I'll tell you anyway. I think we do seven efforts for each one. And those go out over maybe a 2.5 month period, I believe. So the problem with selling passports to singletons is that most people who buy a single webinar are really interested in that topic. We have attracted their attention because, oh, we really want to know about that thing. And in order to sell a passport, they really the organization needs to have an affinity for professional development. Most of our webinars are attended by 4 to 5 people, so it's a group experience. These are usually PR departments or PR agencies, and they have different ways of organizing their attendance, but it all has to do with training. It's a training sensibility and so the first question we ask them is, so when we call them up, we say, welcome to you're going to be attending this event in the next couple of days, and how important is professional development to your organization? That's the single qualifying question that we ask. And if they say, oh, it's really important, then we continue with the conversation. And we give them credit for the event that they have just purchased if they buy the passport within a certain period of time, then 3 or 4 days. Philip, this is I think the answer to your question. We're very aggressive emailers. We do about 7 emails per event. We do an HTML flyer. We do a text blast, a letter, and we do video. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the videos. We also do a weekly month-ahead schedule, which is emailed every Saturday. That has 4 or 5 or 6 events that are coming up over the next 30 days. Jim?
Jim, is the weekly part of the 7?
It actually is the 8th. And that would be, but because it's 7 dedicated to each event, and then on Saturday there comes out a 30-day preview of the next 5 to 6 events. What's that?
It's a lot of emails. It's 453 emails a month, a year.
I got my inspiration from Jody Griselle, who taught me everything I know about over-emailing.
Just a point, do you find that you've got to stick to one topic per message?
We get good opens on, I can't tell you what the actual sales are on those Saturday emails, the month ahead. I think my suspicion is that probably drives a click to the website where they're interested in that topic, and they'll go to the flyer on that or the HTML landing page for that event. But we don't, in general, we just don't believe in multi-message emails. So.
Jim, I'm sorry, we have about 7 minutes left.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that that everybody's asking questions as we go, so that we won't be hurting at the end. Our sales team calls on passports and 4-hour events, so nothing under about $500, and very aggressive on calling on passports. So we do 2 kinds of videos. I don't know if anybody saw the video presentation across the hall. I just saw a part of it, but here's what we discovered with videos. Video is a big topic. It's one of the topics we cover for PR people, and video is huge for all the reasons that the presenters were noting. But what we discovered is that when we do a video, we get about a 500% bump in opens, unique opens, and we get about a 500% bump in clicks on the email. So that, and our emails, I'm not sure whether you won't be able to see it here. Our emails, when you click to go to the email, you actually land on the landing page, and the video screen is embedded in the entire flyer, the HTML flyer. So when you see it, you are in the environment that tells you the entire story. The video is kind of a teaser for the larger message.
So what's in the video? What's in the video?
What's that?
What's in the video?
I'm going to show it to you in just a second. So we do two kinds. One is the talking head. It had, for several years, it was me talking. And then we also do an Articulate, that's a software product, based PowerPoint and maybe with a voiceover. And you may have seen these. Sometimes it has the hand. There are weight loss things. There's Plimsoll language schools. And when you go there, you see often a hand writing or an artist sketching things, and there's a voiceover. Or it is just PowerPoint slides with somebody reading the exact words that you see on the PowerPoint slide. I'll show you an example of that. So the thing with talking head videos, they require scripting and shooting time, which means time. They require modest equipment investment, which they covered across the hall, and I can get into that with you briefly at the end here. And it requires somebody who can do some editing on the presentation. Now let's see if this is going to work here. Well, okay. And will we get...
Hi, I'm Jim Sinkinson, publisher at Bulldog Reporter. You know, running a PR firm can be super gratifying professionally, and it can be extremely rewarding financially if, and this is a huge if your agency has 1, great clients, 2, is growing steadily, and 3, is kicking off solid profit margins of 10 to 20% per year. In short, it's all about growth and profit. The trouble is, and I'm sure you already know this to be true, there are very few presidents or top executives at PR firms who have previous experience running a business. So don't feel like the Lone Ranger. You're terrific, amazing at public relations, but nobody ever handed you a solid, proven model for running your business profitably and for maintaining a methodical, always-on new business effort. So here's a question for you. How would you like to learn a set of proven PR agency growth and profit techniques, information that's guaranteed to increase your margins and the flow of new business into your firm? How would you like to get thousands of dollars worth of PR agency management advice from some of the top management consultants in the business in just 4 hours without leaving the comfort of your office for a tiny fraction of their normal fees? Here's some good news for you and your agency's executive team. It's a new half-day PR University training webinar called Formulas for PR Agency Success.
Okay, I'm going to move on. I think you got the idea. And so the Articulate PowerPoints, it requires scripting, of course, and PowerPoint production. It's a lot easier, however, than shooting the video that I just showed you. Requires modest software investment. You have to buy this Articulate software, which allows you to combine the visual and the voice, and the same editor. And here's an example of how this works. This is for our passport program. I'm just going to call it a technical glitch. If you'd like to see an example of this, we have several of them. One is for the PR University Passport. If you go to...
Hi, I'm Brian Pittman, Vice President of Content at Bulldog Reporter. You know, many PR and corporate communications managers talk about outperforming the competition, but very few have a solid strategy for achieving that competitive advantage. So how would you like to discover a solution more than 100 top PR agencies and corporate communications departments are now using to make sure their teams achieve breakthrough results day in and day out? We know that above all, PR and corporate communications is a people business. So if you want to outperform your competition, that's got to come from your people.
Okay, I think you get the idea there as well. Wanted to just talk about who we use, the service we use. When we moved from working on only single sales to a passport model. We needed to get rid of line charges. So we shopped around because we didn't want to pay extra. We didn't want to worry about how many people are attending. Come one, come all. Once we've sold the passport, we want all the passport attendee members to attend. We didn't want to pay telephone line charges, although some users, it's inevitable that if you have 30 lines, 30 people on the call, somebody will need a landline. But we really work hard to not allow our passport holders to take advantage of landline. So the sound and the visual quality has to be consistently high. Subscriber service demands, for us, necessitates a live operator support. There has to be someone there if they have trouble. So we migrated from Beacon to CCI and then ReadyTalk, which has been a very happy experience for us, ReadyTalk. Beacon could not even come close to the pricing that we needed to make this successful. And I think that's the next event. So that's it. Oh, one other thing I want to mention to you, I saw Nancy Brand at Chartwell in the hallway a few hours ago, and we were talking about her presentation in June about renewals, and she talked about a very high-priced membership program that Chartwell has. And one of the things that they do is they send a utilization report to every member of their council. And I thought that would be a great idea for our passports. And so we just got it together last quarter. So in October, we sent out a utilization, figured out how to pull it out if we use QuickFill, how to pull it out of QuickFill, and then do a merge letter that goes to every single passport holder to tell them which events they have attended and quarter and year to date, and how much money they saved by having a passport. So that's the end of my presentation, and go forth and sell more webinars.